I am starting with tracing the objects in the foreground. Can you trace in any order you want? Sure. But because I want you to learn these terms, you're going to hear me talk about them again and again. I'm going to start by tracing the objects in the foreground. If I have shaded the back of my image properly, all of the details that I trace with my pencil are going to appear on my paper. They're really light. You can barely see them, but they're there. I'm always very careful when I'm tracing because this is the time when I get the most little details that maybe I would have forgotten if I was free drawing. Take advantage of this opportunity and trace over as much detail as you can. Now, advanced artists might not need to trace over all of those details. They know that they're going to add it when they are painting. But sometimes a beginning painter really benefits from being able to trace because it helps you to pay attention to details that you might not have noticed. Okay, so I'm going to work on this tree here. Do I need to outline all of those little leaves? No, but you might want to. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and outline it. But do you really need to? Not necessarily. Your watercolor paints are going to be making many of these details, and sometimes it's a surprise where the paint ends up going. But it's also helpful for beginning artists to know what kinds of details to pay attention to. So I like to outline the darker areas. One of the things you want to make sure that you can see is those light areas in between those branches. Or the light areas that are showing through the leaves. So some of the things that new artists don't tend to notice is small little details like the light shining through that's actually going to make your tree look more realistic. I'll show you some examples of what I have seen in the past. I'm going to try not to tell you that what somebody is doing is wrong, but as a beginning artist, it's important to pay attention to certain details. Have students forgotten about that little light going through those trees? Absolutely. Back when you were just learning to be an artist, in your first classes in elementary school, you learned to paint a tree with a trunk and a big cloud of leaves, right? Most of you still have that image in your mind. I'm going to try to take that away and show you the reality of what you're seeing. The The reality of what you see is that the tree isn't just a cloud of leaves. There are areas where it's lighter or you see through the branches, and that's why I want you to take the time to try to outline or show the details. Let's see if you can see some of my details. Not quite so well. It's really, really light. Part of that has to do with the kind of pencil I used. I just grabbed one and it's not a number 2 pencil, I just realized. But the idea is the same. You're outlining and emphasizing certain features. Right now, we're still working, excuse me, on the foreground. In the foreground, the highly detailed areas in this picture is this tree, these 2 animals, and a little bit of detail in the grass and what appears to be foliage or bushes around. Your eye does not always comprehend what you're looking at. What I do is I outline the areas that do make sense. And my eyes understand when an area is dark and an area that is light. Let's look down here at the very bottom. I am pointing at a very important part of this painting. The light that is coming through the trees also comes through in the foreground. You want to make sure that you show that. So I am outlining a general area where that light is showing. Now, is it going to be a highly detailed? It really isn't, but I want to make sure I do not forget that area where the light is showing through. There's a special word for this type of painting. It has some really beautiful light qualities. We'll call that luminous. Luminous is drawing the attention to a painting or a picture based on the light. The light commands the attention of this drawing or what will become a painting.